And we're live. What's going on, guys? I only had one episode last week. I apologize. It's been a very busy week, a lot of traveling, a lot of good stuff going on, but sports is always sports, right? So there's so much going on. It's starting to get into the football season, and camp is on the way. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation. We got the whole Ezekiel Elliot, the Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott. Is Jerry Jones going to sign Ezekiel Elliott? Is he going to give him more money? And now Ezekiel Elliott and his camp have now made it official. If he doesn't get this type of contract, he's not going to play. He's not at camp. I think he's out of the country. And Amari Cooper is kind of just focused on football. Dak is more just focused on football. So now you have Cowboy fans that are freaking out. Like, hey, Ezekiel needs to get his money or else Dak Prescott is just garbage. And then you also have the other people who are saying, and now this is the minority I would feel. I don't think a lot of people feel this way. Most people think Ezekiel Elliott should get paid. He's probably the best running back in the game. Him, Le'Veon Bell. Gurley had his injury, so it's pretty much Zeke and Le'Veon. But because what happened with Bell last season, you could say Zeke, and not a lot of people could dispute that. So he does, and I do understand both sides. And I'm the opinion business, so typically you have to choose a side, be strong with that side. But with this instance, I understand both sides. I truly do. From Jerry Jones and the Cowboys' perspective, I guess we're jumping right into it. I understand that. You don't want to pay a running back technically as much as possible because, I mean, if you look at it now, based off the analytics and the way the league is going, technically on their second contract, you're not getting a lot of value with that contract because the shelf life of a running back who takes a lot of hits, a lot of runs, isn't that great. It's not that great. And Jerry Jones is a businessman, and the NFL is a business. So you are paying these players, and you have to think of these things. Now, a lot of fans don't want to think of these things, but that's why they're fans, fanatics. These are the owners. These are the GMs. These are people who control the budget, the finances. Do you want to invest in someone who may not be the same player in those 2 years, who may just get worse? Now, those are saying that, hey, he's still fine, he's still young, he's still good. That may be the case. But just based off the analytics, you don't have to have a running game to win a Super Bowl. Like, it's not a main priority right now. Wide receivers are more valuable than ever. Quarterbacks are more valuable than ever. So it's not a necessity. It's like not your number one choice. You don't have to have the best running back in the league, but he certainly helps and complements Dak Prescott, right? So does Amari Cooper. And, of course, Dak, he was drafted in, the sixth round? So he needs his money because he hasn't even gotten paid yet. So the Cowboys are in a weird predicament where everyone wants to get paid. They want to pay everyone, but it's all about timing. It's all about spacing and how you do it and how you approach it. And for Zeke, he's smart. I mean, he's had his issues off the field, right? But I'm sure his agent is a smart guy, smart woman, and understands that running backs in the NFL, if you're not in one of those positions like a quarterback or other positions in the league, you want to make as much money as you can while you are able to make money. Like I said, because the shelf life of a running back in other positions aren't that long at all. So while you are healthy, while you are really valuable to a franchise, make as much money as possible. So when you get in, then when you get out, you have a lot of money to work with, and you can use it with different businesses and generational wealth. So get your money, and I completely get it. I completely get it from the running back perspective, in this case, Ezekiel Elliott. I also understand it from an agent's perspective and from a fan's perspective. Like, yeah, he needs to make his money while he can, while he's young and while he's valuable to the franchise. But like I said, I also understand Jerry Jones' side. We don't want to give this running back all of our money 2 years out before his contract. 2 years out before we have to pay him. But Zeke wants to get paid now because he understands that the running back position is losing its value. It's not as valued as it was before. And he understands that he's one injury away from his career ending. So make your money while you can. So I do understand both sides. I really do. And I think Jerry Jones is going to want to keep Zeke. But of course he wants to get him at a middle ground. Don't pay him the full amount of money, but where can you get him where he's very happy because he's made it clear he wants to pay Zeke, but he has to make sure his other players are paid too. And I think the Cowboys are winning the PR battle because they're trying to take care of everybody. And right now, Ezekiel Elliott to the public seems like he's just all about himself. But like I said, I understand that point. Wow, I got off to a rant early. I wanted to thank you guys because that was last month was the best month of the podcast since I started it. Every month has been tripling the ratings, so you guys are obviously loving what you're hearing, and I love talking, so it works out. I appreciate you guys. I'm available on any podcast if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to this on podcast, I'm on YouTube. So I understand. I get it. I really do. And I don't know how it's going to play out. Like I said, if I had to predict, I think they pay Zeke. Maybe Zeke reaches, maybe his agent's like, okay, look, we're still getting a lot of money. It wasn't the max. We asked for this amount. So maybe they find a middle ground that both parties are happy with and he plays. So all that being said, it's transitioning into football season. So I'm like, let me give my Super Bowl contenders before the season starts. Top contenders. I'm not just saying contenders. Like, yeah, the Steelers are contenders. The Packers are contenders. The Browns, quote unquote, are contenders. Like, there's a lot of contenders. Who are my top contenders? And I think that's where people confuse that. Who are my top contenders going into next season? And my next season top Super Bowl contenders is the Colts, Patriots, Chiefs, Rams, and Eagles. And I think about the quarterback, I think about the front office, I think about the roster, and I think about the situation. And that's where I come up with all those things. As I mentioned, like Mahomes, Brady, Luck, Goff, McVay, Belichick, Reed. Like, these are all, Wentz when healthy, these are all like great quarterbacks in a great system. Belichick, Reed, McVay. So they're in a great system with a great front office, with a great surrounding cast, with a great roster. Those are my top Super Bowl contenders. Now, I got a lot of feedback when I put it on Instagram and Twitter, and most people said, hey, the Saints. And that's the most pushback I've gotten on this. A lot of people loved my list, but a lot of people pushed back with the Saints. You got to put the Saints up there. This is like their last opportunity, and just their championship DNA, their pedigree, of course, Drew Brees. You got to give it to them. Normally, I would say yes. I just don't like how hung up they are on last year's call that they didn't get against the Rams. And I don't like the mentality of not moving forward, right? I love Drew Brees. And yeah, he is getting older. And I think he's probably past it. But as football, as you guys know, anyone that's listening that watches football, plays football, it's not a one-man sport. It's a team sport. So Drew Brees, even though he's the voice in the locker room, he's the captain, and I think he's past it, is the rest of the roster and team. Because every interview I see, they haven't let it go. I think there's like some lawsuit going on, and it's just ridiculous. Yes, it was a blown call, but they also had an opportunity to win that game. So if they want to be in that top Super Bowl contender, they need to get past that. Because what it reminds me of is like the Falcons. It reminds me of the Seahawks. Just like this thing that's just held over their head, like the Jaguars, who were great and then all of a sudden weren't great next season. The Vikings, like, you have these examples where you have a really good team that was right there, but something happens that they can't get over with. And when you don't have your eyes set on one thing, winning a Super Bowl in the NFL is the most difficult challenge you can have. That's why Brady's the GOAT. He has 6. You have to have all of your attention to winning that. Any ounce of attention going anywhere else, any distraction is a flaw. It hurts you. You're vulnerable. And you can't have that to win a Super Bowl. You have people like Brady who just watches film all day in a dark room and just eats kale. This man he just eats, breathes winning Super Bowls. So if you want to beat that guy, if you want to be that team that wins the Super Bowl, you can't be worried about the past. You have to look at what you can do moving forward. So that's why I don't have the Saints. I also got some Chargers in there, and I love the Chargers roster, but I just don't think they're top compared to the teams I listed, and a couple Cowboy guys, a couple Brown guys. I'm not the big believer in the Browns. I think they'll be really good. Baker, I think he's going to be accurate as he always is. But I think there's a lot of question marks, a lot of egos. A lot of people can get upset. It's flashy, it's new, people love it. But when things go bad, how will these egos react with each other? How will they blend together? You have Odell, you have Baker, you have all these young, talented guys. And yeah, it's great when it's going good, but how do they react when it's going bad? So there's a lot of question marks there. That's why I didn't put them up there. like I just mentioned, my first rant, the Dallas Cowboys with Ezekiel Elliot. That's why I didn't put them up there. I don't know how they are yet. So this list can change, obviously, as the season goes on. But as of right now, those teams aren't in it. Got that off my chest. Those teams aren't in it. And I think, when you evaluate the season, now I'm a huge NBA guy. Like, NBA is my sport. The UFC is my sport. I love the NFL. I'm not as die-hard with the NFL as I am the NBA. NBA, I feel like I can talk to pretty much anybody, and I can teach you what you need to know. I'm not trying to sound conceited by any means, but that's my sport. That's my love. Like, basketball and MMA, because that's what I did. I never played football. Now I understand the game. You can really evaluate the game, its history, and understand it and be very smart at it. But to have a true natural sense of the sport, I feel like you have a huge advantage when you participate in it. I did MMA. I competed in wrestling, jiu-jitsu tournaments, Muay Thai tournaments, boxing tournaments. I understand what it's like to get hit. And I understand that feeling. Like, I've bled. I've had broken noses. I've been tapped out. I understand it. Basketball. I've hit some threes. I've been crossed. Never been dunked on. Never fell. But I've been in that situation. I've never played it personally in football. So last year, I think I've only gotten one game wrong last year in the playoffs. I was on fire. So trust me, I understand the game. But like I said, never partook in it. So I'm not going to act like I'm an NFL Hall of Famer. But that being said, you can generally look at teams' situations and understand and gauge where they're going to be at. I think the Jets are going to be a lot better than they were last year. I think the 49ers are going to be really good next year. Like I said, I think the Saints take a step back. If you just look at the history of the NFL, one team typically takes a step back. And then you can kind of understand, oh, okay, Brady takes pay cuts. Great ownership. Oh, Belichick's the greatest coach of all time. That makes sense. Like, there's a lot of things that you don't have to be, I don't know, you don't have to live in front of the television screen to understand what I'm telling you. Now, I watch every game because I'm obsessed with it and I love sports, so I understand that. But just if you're listening and you're not a diehard NFL fan, it's not that hard to grasp. Protect the quarterback, attack the quarterback. Of course, get the ball down the field. It's just like the NBA. It's evolving a little bit. The NBA is going towards the three-point shot. If you're not a shooter, Dwight Howard doesn't belong in the league. Running backs aren't as valuable, so you see these running backs trying to maintain their value and get the money while they can. So that's my NFL spiel to begin the podcast, but there's so much I want to get into. And I know this is like, quote-unquote, starting to become the dead time in the NBA, getting into NFL season. But there's so much going on still. I mean, the UFC is happening, and you also have USA Basketball. And I'm particularly interested in USA Basketball. I'll shift gears into that because LeBron's not participating. Kevin Durant's not participating. James Harden's not participating. Anthony Davis isn't participating. So the best player, Steph Curry's not participating. Neither's Clay. Neither's Kyrie. Neither's Kevin Durant. So, like, the best top tier players aren't participating in Team USA Basketball. A lot of them are just focusing on what it takes to win a championship because that's what your legacy is based off of, right? Carmelo has a lot of gold medals. It's an honor to play for the country. Not taking that away from Carmelo Anthony at all. But what's his knock? He's never won in the NBA. So a lot of players are starting to understand that. That's why you see the load management. It's why you see players rest. So they're trying to win an NBA title. And they're trying to focus because there's a lot of player mobility this offseason. They're trying to sort out what they need to do and adjust to their team, how to fit their schemes, new coach, new system, new teammates. And I think it's very smart. But what that resulted in young players. The top young players in the NBA are now on Team USA Basketball. And I absolutely love it. Now, Team USA always dominates in the Olympics, right? They win by like 80-plus points, 60-plus points, because you have the best players in the world all on one team. How are you going to stop LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade? You can't. You simply can't. That's why they were called the Dream Team in 1992 with Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, because they really are the Dream Team. But if I were to name you this roster to whoever's listening, if you're a diehard NBA fan, you probably know most of the names, maybe all the names. But if you're somebody who watches it on Christmas, the Christmas schedule just came out, someone who watches the opener only playoffs, there's some names you may not recognize right away. Now, there's a lot of people participating in it, but I mean, I'm talking about Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker. Like, these are the players that are participating, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And Donovan Mitchell, Chris Middleton, wow, yeah, there's a Kuzma, Marcus Smart, Plumlee, Harrell, Jaylen Brown, Davius Young, PJ Tucker, so Miles Turner. I'm just reading the roster here if you're listening. So yeah, that's what I love about this team. So are they going to win? Yes. They should win. They're young, so this is their first experience. They're very excited, nerves. But I love it because now these young players we get to see develop. It's a new blood, new era. You get to see who's going to be the face of the league coming up. Really interested to see how Kyle Kuzma does this season. Like I've said, I think he's the Klay Thompson of the Lakers, the role he plays. But my point in all of this is, you turn on the Olympics, it's always fun to see Team USA dominate and see LeBron and Kobe throw alley-oops to each other. But now it's like, they're going to win, but I'm just like, now the young guys need to show that they can do it. So it's just different. It's new. If LeBron's on the team, I know they're winning. But who's the leader of this team? Who's like that veteran? So it's just fun to see, and I'm really interested to see these young players develop. And it's like the FIBA Cup and all that stuff. So it's really interesting to see these young players. Like, I saw some highlights, and two things stuck out to me. So Kyle Kuzma has worked on his jump shot, and that's something that the Lakers absolutely need him to develop his game, that area of his game, because now you have the LeBron James, Anthony Davis pick and roll. And Kyle Kuzma is now that third option, and why I said he's going to have a breakout year. He's going to have the favorable matchups night in and night out. So him developing that consistent jump shot is what's crucial for him going forward, because he needs to be able to spread the floor when LeBron and AD do the pick and roll. And he's created this new jump shot where he has a higher release now. And hopefully that will make him a more consistent shooter and knock down those open shots when they need him to knock it down. And you see highlights of it in Team USA. I wouldn't be able to see that if he wasn't participating in that until next season. So I think him changing his form is going to make him, I'm not saying he's going to be LeBron James next year, but we're going to see him take that next step, and he's going to have a breakout year. Another thing that stood out to me, because I was watching these highlights, and of course, you're just like, oh my God, how talented these guys are. I wish I was covering this team. And it's Jayson Tatum. And now I said the Boston Celtics are my sleeper going into next season. But I think Jayson Tatum's going to have one of those years again where his rookie year we were shocked on how great he was and how many transferable skills he had going into the NBA from collegiate basketball. I think he's going to have one of those years again. I think Kyle Kuzma is going to have a breakout year. I think Jayson Tatum is as well. And I think Jayson Tatum is going to be that guy on the Boston Celtics. Now, Kemba Walker's the all-star, right? Gordon Hayward, former all-star. But Jayson Tatum's going to take that next step as well. And I think we saw it his rookie year, but when Kyrie Irving came back his sophomore year, he didn't have the ball as much, right? He didn't have as much time to really develop his game and work on it and showcase his skills. I'm not saying he had a bad year, but it wasn't like his rookie year. This third year, I think we're going to see that Jayson Tatum. And I think Jayson Tatum's going to be deadly. I really do. I think Jayson Tatum's going to be special this year. I'm not saying an MVP candidate, but I'm saying he's going to be, wow, okay, that guy's special. Okay, Kyrie left. That's why they wanted to keep Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum's going to have a special year. And I don't know, Kemba Walker or Jayson Tatum will lead this team in scoring. That's how high I am on Jayson Tatum right now. And just watching the highlights, and he's kind of flying under the radar again because he had a lot of hype his rookie year. Then it kind of died down because Kyrie Irving was back in the system and he stole the spotlight. I think Jayson Tatum's about to go right back up there. Jayson Tatum's about to go right back up there. Mark my words, Jayson Tatum will shoot up the ranks. I want to shift gears to still in the NBA, but Draymond Green. So, yeah, it's crazy. This is, wow, the power's going out. Wow, it's been storming here. Sorry if you're listening to that via podcast. But, so Draymond Green got the max extension, 4 years. I think he has a player option his third year. So they have Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry to like 2023, 2024. And my initial reaction was the Warriors had to do it, right? They had to maintain what they had. After Kevin Durant left, you're taking a risk on D'Angelo Russell. They had to do it. They absolutely had to do it. You need to keep what you had for the fans because you're moving into a new arena for Curry because Curry's going to need help while Clay is out. So it's the right move for the Golden State Warriors. My second reaction was he's not a max player. You look at his stats, and the stats don't show everything, so I'm not going to just say it's just analytically why he's not a max player, but he's not a max player. He's not a max player. But for right now, for what he means for this team, I would have done the same thing. So the Warriors made the right move by extending that and giving him that max contract. I think they understood now if Kevin Durant were to stay and they couldn't have, they certainly wouldn't have. But given the situation and the circumstances, what Draymond Green means to this team, how he benefits Steph Curry, how he really helps Clay, you need that guy in the paint who does the dirty work, who's not flashy, who we know what he does for the Golden State Warriors. He's the Dennis Rodman of the Golden State Warriors, but he can pass better, he can shoot better. They absolutely needed him, especially with Kevin Durant leaving, with Klay Thompson tearing his ACL. He won't return until January, February this upcoming season. And D'Angelo Russell, I think, will fit. But D'Angelo Russell and Steph Curry, although offensively are gifted, defensively they're a liability on the perimeter. So you need somebody to guard the best player, especially while Klay Thompson's not there. And that's what Draymond has always been known for. The tough defender who's gritty, who pushes the envelope for the Golden State Warriors. Because they're a soft and finesse team. But Draymond Green made it gritty and tough. He's the gritty and tough guy. You can't just have a whole bunch of soft guys around there. You have to have that guy who barks, and that's who Draymond Green is. So if he was on any other team, I don't think he's a max player. But for who Draymond Green is for the Golden State Warriors, they made the right move. That was the perfect move for the Warriors. 100%, and I know a lot of people were upset. Not necessarily upset, but a lot of people don't think he deserves it. And he does. Like I said, for the Warriors, he does. Now, if he's on the Pistons, no, I'm not signing him that max. But to complement Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, D'Angelo Russell, yes, I am. Because that's what I need as a team and as an organization. So congrats to Draymond. He really put in the work. I'm happy to see Draymond get paid. And again, I'm going to reiterate, I've said it before on the podcast. You can check it out. The Golden State Warriors are slept on. So they went from being the villains because they were the favorites every season, stacked team, 73-9, add Kevin Durant, to now flying under the radar. And because the Lakers are flashy, the Clippers are flashy, the Rockets are flashy, but because Kevin Durant left and they acquired D'Angelo Russell, who's an all-star young guard, but he's not Kevin Durant, everyone wants to sleep on the Warriors. And I'm here to say don't sleep on the Warriors. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. And that's why they kept Draymond Green, because the front office is so damn smart. They understand keeping Draymond is what they needed to still make themselves title contenders. Now, they're not the dynasty anymore, but they're still title contenders. Okay, last thing I want to get into. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Like I said, it was a very long week, a lot going on. Back in the studio now, bunch of podcasts coming your way. I'm going to try to get some really good guests coming forward. I can't wait for the NFL season. So we had some UFC. Colby Covington beat Robbie Lawler. Now that fight with Usman has to happen. And DC and Stipe is like the next big fight. And Dustin Poirier and Khabib Nurmagomedov is the next big fight. Those are the headliners. And I tweeted this, and I kind of want to just expand on it. Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic is a super fight. That's what it was labeled the first time, because that was the first time Daniel Cormier moved up to heavyweight while in the UFC after he won the light heavyweight championship when John Jones left due to suspension. So he moved up to heavyweight to win 2 belts simultaneously, joining Conor McGregor. I don't think Amanda Nunes did it at the time. She did now, obviously. Yeah, I don't think Amanda Nunes did that yet. Daniel Cormier won before Amanda Nunes because Amanda beat Cyborg. Yeah, so Daniel Cormier joined that elite status, though. So it's him, George St. Pierre, Conor McGregor, Amanda Nunes, and Henry Cejudo. Those are the elite of the elite, right? So he moves up and he defeats Stipe Miocic, who has the most title defenses in UFC history. And if you're listening to this and you're not a UFC fan, I suggest you watch that fight. It's a thrilling fight. So DC moves up, and Stipe actually had, now it was, although it was a very short fight, Stipe had a lot of success. in the beginning. And that's one thing that a lot of MMA fans or a lot of just people in general that watched it forget is how successful Stipe was in the beginning of that fight. And I know it wasn't a lot of time, but there's a lot you can tell in a short amount of time in an MMA fight. And Stipe had a lot of success, but DC clipped him because DC is such an underrated boxer within the clinch, a dirty boxer. He understands his angles, he understands where he's strong, and he understands where to hit you. And a lot of people see shorter fighters and think it's automatically a disadvantage, and it is when you're on the outside, on the perimeter, but when you get in there, it's an advantage. DC's short and powerful, though. This rematch is a huge fight, and I think Stipe is going to come out guns blazing. I think Stipe is going to look amazing, but all that being said, Daniel Cormier will beat Stipe Miocic in the rematch, and it will set up the super fight with Jon Jones. That's what's meant to happen. That's what's going to happen. That's the fight everyone wants. It's the fight both of those fighters want. Now, DC is a professional. He's not going to focus on Jon Jones, but that's what he knows. That's the fight. That's the one guy DC's ever lost to. That's the one guy that Jon Jones really hates more than anybody. I would love to see it at heavyweight, but I think both fighters have expressed interest in fighting at light heavyweight. But I don't want people to count out Stipe. I think DC's going to win the rematch. He doesn't lose to anybody other than Jon Jones. He's just such a smart fighter. He's such a professional. He's an Olympian. He's a wrestler. He has that mentality, that grind mentality that you just can't teach. It's something you have to go through experience, that wrestling background. And he has that. And he's a grinder. And he understands where he's good at. Now, I expect Stipe to fight more on the perimeter this time. But I think at heavyweight, one fight can just change it all, right? So DC can lose. Don't get me wrong. Stipe can easily win this fight. But I've seen him knock out Stipe once. And I think we're going to see it happen again. I think DC will knock out Stipe Miocic in the rematch, call out Jon Jones, and that will be his final fight, is DC versus Jon Jones 3. That's what's going to happen. And I love Stipe Miocic, one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, and he probably is the greatest heavyweight of all time, but if DC beats him again, I don't know, you can kind of flip-flop. That's a debate for another day. But Stipe is going to knock him out. I mean, DC is going to knock out Stipe. I'm not sure how quickly. I don't think it's going to be as quick as last time. That was like, God, I don't know what the time was, but it was very short in round one. I think it's going to be a round one, round two. But I think Stipe is going to show success early, but I just think he's going to get clipped again. I just think DC has that timing, and I think DC just understands his angles and where he's very good at. So expect that to be fireworks. Like I said, I've been predicting this Dustin Poirier upset over Khabib for a while now, but that's the super fight that's going to happen. I think Conor's going to come back, maybe fight Nate Diaz, but I think that's the fight that's going to happen, is Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier. Now, I've had Jon Jones' manager on here, and he expressed him dominating in light heavyweight, Abe Kawa. And that's why I think it's going to happen at light heavyweight. I think DC wants to really, not revenge, but the word's not coming to me. He wants to do what he didn't do before, and he wants to beat Jon Jones at light heavyweight, where he lost. Just like how Conor McGregor rematched Nate Diaz at welterweight. After he lost, it's just something it's that pride. I lost you at light heavyweight, I'm going to beat you at light heavyweight. And I think Jon Jones wants to cement himself as the greatest light heavyweight, even though he already is, just break all the records and beat DC again at light heavyweight. So that fight will happen. Mark my words. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, a lot of content's going to be coming your way. So stay tuned. Keep downloading. Keep subscribing. Keep telling a friend. Keep giving it a thumbs up. Keep giving it a 5 stars. 5 stars. I truly appreciate it. I really do, guys. Like I said, I know I went on my rant earlier in the podcast, but this past month, what is it, July? And then August? Yeah, so July almost quadrupled my ratings from the month before. So it's great momentum and it's great positive energy, and I absolutely love it. So thank you guys very much. Please download and subscribe the Max Van Auken Podcast. And if you're listening, check it out on YouTube. If you have any questions, I didn't get to any questions this episode just because it was my first episode back. There's a lot to cover. Next episode, I will be addressing questions. I will be answering questions. If it's a question about NFL, NBA, UFC, life, send it my way, and I will get to it. You guys decide what I talk about because that's what you're interested in. So I appreciate it. And like always, guys, peace.